Good morning, everyone. Welcome to those in person and on Zoom. We welcome you to the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Northern Nevada, where it is our mission to grow together in love, faith, justice, and joy. My name is Sam Hunt. My pronouns are he, him, and I'm honored to serve as your worship associate today. Spirit of life, be present with us in this hour. Join us today as we gather in a wider search for truth and purpose as we celebrate Hispanic Heritage Month. As we celebrate all the accomplishments and all that gives our Latino sisters and brothers faith and love. Remember that this community is what it is because of your presence. So welcome into the space of love, support, justice, compassion, fellowship, and worship. We are glad you are here. We welcome all to be a part of us regardless of racial identity, age, economic circumstances, immigration status, sexual orientation, or gender identity. If you are someone who is viewing this and it is your first exposure to us, feel free to contact our office or our website for more information. It is also where you can fill out the newcomer form online. You can sign up for our newsletter that keeps you informed of all the activities here at UUFNN. If you are on Zoom, you will remain muted throughout the service. You can make comments in the chat box anytime, but especially during joys and concerns. You will be invited to join us for coffee time immediately after the service. Thank you for being with us, and remember, you are welcome here.
As we celebrate Hispanic Heritage Month, we should all remember that the universe has made of one blood all the people on earth. But the universe has also enrichingly blessed us with a world of many languages, cultures, and traditions. I thank you today for the many contributions which Hispanic Americans have made and continue to make to our great country. Enable us always to learn from and appreciate each other. Make us more stronger as a nation because of our diverse gifts and experiences. Each enrich our minds, bodies, and spirits. We pray as we celebrate together on this beautiful day. Amen. Blessed be and namaste.
That's all right, I was just gonna let you go. All right, we will be doing the chalice lighting. I'm gonna invite Nathan up to light our chalice. For those of you at home, you are more than welcome to light your own chalice and join us in this. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek truth and love, and to help one another. Now,
we stand in your willing and able. We have the screen. Rejoice and come in. Rejoice and come in. Rejoice and come in. Rejoice. There will be a joyful day. Enter, rejoice and come in. Open your ears to this song. Open your ears to the song.
Our offering. We know that our financial contributions to this congregation come from sacrifice and hard work. We are so grateful for this and make sure you guys can hear me, and commit together to ensure the funds we gather collectively do a greater job for ourselves and for our world than they could have done alone. May there be an offering to sustain and grow the life and mission of this congregation. May we give in love and in hope. The gifts of this congregation will be most gratefully received. For those of us that are physically together here at the sanctuary, we will be passing the basket. For those of us that are on Zoom, you can do your offering virtually by texting 73256, putting UUFNN in the message box and hit send. Then follow the instructions to provide your offering. You can also mail a check to the office at 780 Del Monte Lane, which I think is up there as well. The slickest and cleanest way to donate to this is to sign up for the automatic giving. Contact the office and Carol will send you an automatic draft authorization form or put the form in on the website. Here at UUFNN, each month we also give folks an opportunity to share our generosity by sharing with a designated nonprofit. The Share the Plate recipient for September is Hug High Scholarship Program. Thank you for your generosity. I'll get my words together at some point today. May the offering begin. To the work of this fellowship, which is helping more people grow in love, faith, justice, and joy, we dedicate ourselves as these our offerings.
All the colors of people, because I know I didn't get one.
You are way taller than I am. I will now do a short reading of the history of Hispanic Month, Heritage Month. Who are Hispanics and what do they bring to the table? Our second principle calls us to justice, equity, compassion, and human relations. How are we as Unitarian Universalists stepping up to achieve our second principle? Hispanic Heritage Month is an annual celebration of the history and culture of the U.S., Latinx, and Hispanic communities. The event, which spans from September 15th to October 15th, which is important, commemorates how these communities have influenced and contributed to American society at large. The term Hispanic or Latino, or the more recent term Latinx, refers to a person's culture or origin regardless of race. Hispanic Heritage Month was first introduced in June of 1968 by California Congressman George E. Brown. The push to recognize the contributions of Latinx community had gained momentum throughout the 1960s when the civil rights movement was at its peak, and there was a growing awareness of the United States' multicultural identities. Brown, who represented East Los Angeles and a large portion of the San Gabriel Valley, both heavily populated by members of the Hispanic and Latinx communities, wanted to recognize the role played by these communities throughout American history. Why the date of Hispanic Heritage Month is important? The timing of Hispanic Heritage Month coincides with the Independence Day celebrations of several Latin American nations. September 15th was chosen as a kickoff because it coincides with the Independence Day of celebrations of Central American countries, Costa Rica, El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras, and Nicaragua. Those 5 nations declared their independence from Spain on September 15th, 1821. Then Mexico, which declared its independence from Spain on September 16, 1810, and Chile celebrates its independence from Spain on September 18th, 1810. Belize, which declared its independence from Great Britain on September 21st, 1981. Hispanic Heritage Month expands from September 15th to October 15th. Not all of the contributions made by Hispanic Americans to our society are so visible or so widely celebrated. However, Hispanic Americans have enriched our nation beyond measure with the quiet strength of closely knit families and proud communities. Thank you.
The labor of a lyricist can be a tricky one. I wrote this anthem, and the lyrics are based on a poem that is in our book. They were written by Adrian Rich. Here's the original. My heart is moved by all I cannot save. So much has been destroyed. I have to cast my lot with those, age after age, perversely, with no extraordinary power, reconstitute the world.
Hello. Hispanic Heritage Month. I know all of you are expecting for me to talk about all the things we Hispanics have contributed to this country, all we have done to make this country better. But that is not going to happen this time. There is something else in my heart that I want to share. Some time ago, I read an article by Irene Thompson, a reporter for USA Today, that expressed a feeling of Black Americans. Those comments spoken by Black people about what they felt being in America. Do you know how exhausting it is to be Black in America? Do you know what it is like to be followed in a store, mistaken for the help, told to get over that wholesale trade and trafficking of your ancestors? Do you know? We are exhausted. We are sick of hollow promises and press conference and presidential speeches and gone too soon funerals and distraught parents wailing in the streets. Being Black in America is like walking through an ice storm. It's cold, isolated, exhausting. You're not sure if you're going to make it, or you cannot see what's coming from you. But these comments can also be the feeling of Native Americans, Hispanics, and many other communities. But today, I'm only going to touch on just 3. There is so much to say and so little time. So I'm going to jump in feet first, because there's no other way to do it. Most of you might not know that I was a history major at the University of Puerto Rico, but my passion in history started long before that, when I was in middle school. You see, in Puerto Rico, it is mandatory to teach US history for half a semester and Puerto Rican history for the other half. And I had a great history teacher for both. One that explained things in a way that we could all understand. When she was teaching the colonization of the United States, she explained it this way. Imagine that you, your family, and your neighbors go on a long trip. And when you come back, some people that speak a language that you do not understand, that are dressed in a very strange way, and whose skin color is so different from yours, are in your house. They're eating your food, and your clothing is all of your belongings are out in the street. You do not understand what's going on, so you fight back to get what is yours. It is extremely hard to understand what these people who are so totally different from you are claiming your house, your property for them. They say that your land now is theirs and that you have no right to it. All this makes you really angry, and you wonder who these savages really are. Why are they taking all that belongs to me and my family and my friends? In this story, who do you think the real savages are? The people who originally owned the house and the land, or the intruders who took it all? We look at what the perception of things are. The First Nation people were considered savages because they looked different, dressed different, spoke a different language, and prayed to a different god or many gods. That, to the eyes of the invader, who had a different skin tone, dressed different, spoke different language, and prayed to a different god, made them savages. Many times our perception of some things is related to how we see it. From what perspective are we looking at that moment? What kind of news are we seeing? What movies? What television shows? Let's go back to the cowboys and Indian shows we all watched when we were little. Who were the bad guys? The savages. It was not the white man taking the land from the First Nations, the original owners of the land. No, it wasn't. And once again, I ask who the savages were and who are still the savages. Couldn't the words that I read to you at the beginning be used by the First Nation people? Yes. And they have the right to say, we are so tired. We have to realize a white man in this nation is whitewash our history of the invasion of these lands. We have not and are not really teaching the history of what happened and is happening to the First Nation people. Now, talking about whitewashing, have you read that there is a movement that wants to eliminate the word slavery from our history books and wants to whitewash what slavery really was? So back to my history teacher. She said, and at this time we all laughed, but was very real. Imagine you're in your home watching your favorite television game, and a group of men that look different from you, dress different, and speak a different language than you, and that you do not understand, bust into your home, your land, and take your wife, your children, and your neighbors away. And when you try to fight them to protect what is yours, those around you are killed. Ultimately, you and the survivor neighbors are put in chains, put in a boat, and taken to a land that is so different from yours, where they definitely speak a totally different language. They do not eat the same food, and they pray to a different God. Your dignity stripped from you, and you are treated like a property, not a human. But the people that lead to believe that you are the savage. Under what perceptive should we truly see who really the savage might be? And this treatment goes on for years and years. So we go back to those words that I read at the beginning. And yes, we are tired. We are so tired. Wouldn't you be tired? And once again, I ask, who were the savages then? And who are still the savages? So I'm going to bring this a little bit more personal. Hispanic, as of which I am one. There is so much I would like to say, but there is time limit. So I'm going to narrow this even more. Puerto Rico history. And please do not worry, I am not going to give a long dissertation about it. It is not like I couldn't, but once again, time limit. Like I mentioned before, in Puerto Rico, the history of the US and Puerto Rico are mandatory. So here I am in middle school, my second semester of history of Puerto Rico, which I so arrogantly believe I knew it all. Not really, but here we are again. The island is 30 by 100 miles, not large at all. There was a group of people who lived there called Taínos, with their own culture, very democratic, and who spoke their own language. When the Spanish invaded the land, they took over, they killed, enslaved, and literally wiped out the whole Taíno nation. But still, the blood of those Taínos runs through the veins of many of us, me included. I remember when I was a little girl, my grandfather would sit me on his lap in a rocking chair in a balcony of their house in Ponce, as he was drinking black coffee, talking about his Taino relatives. I always found those stories very interesting. And as I grew up and I went to school, I discovered that the Taínos were wiped out. Once again, I asked, who in reality was the savage? From that time, the island lived under the boot of the Spanish. And yes, there were attempts to fight for freedom. It was September 23, 1868, El Grito de Lares, the best attempt for freedom. But it only lasted a few days because the revolutionaries were betrayed, putting an end to the revolution. One of the revolutionaries captured and sentenced to death was a relative of mine. This betrayal put an end to the attempt for freedom. Now I'm going to make a pause here and ask a question. Do you know how long Puerto Rico has been a colony of the United States? Does anybody know? 124 years. 124 years. Think about that. So on July 25th, 1898, during the brief Spanish-American War, the U.S. Army forces occupied Puerto Rico at Guanica on the island's south side. Then under the Treaty of Paris that formally ended the war between Spain and the U.S., Spain ceded Puerto Rico, Guam, the Philippines, and Cuba to the United States. So now Puerto Rico is a colony of the United States. And many of our politicians at the time thought, hey, this is great. We got rid of the Spanish. The US will give us our freedom because US is based on freedom, right? Right? Wrong. That didn't happen. And here we are, 2022. Puerto Rico is still a colony of the US, and some US and Puerto Ricans want to whitewash it and say that we are a territory, or better still, a commonwealth. I'm going to bring this even more home. When my grandfather was born in 1892, he was born Spaniard. After the US invasion in 1898, he had no citizenship, so he was considered a Puerto Rican. Then in 1917, under the Jones Act, my grandfather became an American citizen and was drafted for World War I. You see, the US needed men to fight World War I. All those people that did not want to take the US citizen, all of a sudden became undocumented in their own land, their own homes, and some were even deported. And here we are today. I look at the invasion of Puerto Rico by the Americans as a group of people that came to lunch and never left, and have since day one tried to change what the hosts were. Once again, we perceived something one way, and the complete history of what happened has not been told. I am a US citizen, but many of you don't even know where Puerto Rico is. Do you know how exhausting it is to be a Puerto Rican in America? Do you know how exhausting it is to be a Latino in America? Do you know what it is like to be followed in the store, to be mistaken for help? But in addition, I am so tired of being assumed that all Latinos and Hispanics are Mexican. No, we are not. We are from different countries. We have some different foods we like to eat. We enjoy some different music, even though we all speak Spanish. And there is so much more I would like to say, so much more to explain, so much more to talk about, but now we don't have the time. We will continue to try to move forward with something, sometimes not understanding what really happened in our past. I passionately believe in the teaching of the UU faith. I do understand that the principles are not dogma. or doctrines. Here a guide. As I wrote this for today, I looked at our first principle, the inherent worth and dignity of every person. And our second principle, justice, equity, and compassion in human relation. Was there justice, compassion when Ron DeSantis sent 50 asylum seekers from Texas to Marshall Vineyard under false pretense, reminding us of a time when a government sent another group of people in a cattle car to another place. Once again, I ask how hard it is to be a Latino, and my answer will be, I'm so tired. Wouldn't you be? I would like to end with a video of my favorite danza, Verde Luz. This is how my island should look. But right now, we're trying and working to rebuild it after the devastation of another hurricane. And we know that this administration is a lot more compassionate than the previous one. This is me and my island. At this time, we will put our thoughts and our prayers for those on Zoom and the chat box. Today, we want to lift and send positive energy to Lisa, who is in South Meadows Hospital in room 215. Please stop by, visit, and tell her that we're with her. May we remember when you shared with me what is most important to you. That is where listening begins. When I show you that I hear you, when I say your life matters, that is where compassion begins. When I open the door to greet you, that is where hospitality begins. When I venture out to bring you to shelter, that is where love begins. When I risk my comfort to ease your suffering, when I act against hatred, violence, and injustice, that is where courage begins. When we experience the full presence of each other because our shared humanities, because our differences, that is where holy gratitude begins. Now, with one hand in our heart and the other extended out, may this space be a table that is not complete until all are welcome. May this table be a space of beauty where together we could create a series of miracles and where all that we share is sacred. Let it be so. Blessed be, and amen. So we have two announcements for you today that are very important. One of them, Unitarian Universalist Fellowship Blood Drive. Please, if you could donate blood, There's so many people that could need it. It's going to be outside, right, Emily? It's going to be outside. Please go. Lift up your and donate blood. And the second one.
Morning, I'm Lily, and I'm working with the new refugee families and the old ones. One of the very important needs that they have at the moment is blankets. When we had that little cold snap, whenever it was, last week, the week before, NNIC realized they didn't have nearly enough blankets for these people who are used to much warmer climates. So if any of you have blankets that you're willing to donate, please let me know. You can contact me. My contact info is on Realm. And if you're here today in person, you can come and talk to me about it. Thank you.
Hold on. Do we have lyrics? Ah, there they are. Please stand and as you're willing and able and read the lyrics. Please remain standing for the benediction.
We leave this gathered community, but we do not leave our connections, our concerns, our cares for each other, our service to each other, to the world, and to our faith continues. Until we're together again, friends, be strong, be well, be true, be loving. Our worship is over. May our service begin.
I hope so too.